Warning, this episode talks about pet loss and also uses some pretty fruity language, even for me. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Broomstick, that podcast that opens up the opportunities and possibilities that spirituality bring to you in your everyday life, whilst removing some of the woo-woo that we see on social media these days. Welcome. If we haven't met before, my name is Matilda and I am a professional psychic medium here in Australia. Been practicing for well over 20 years and I absolutely love what I do. The fact that I can bring peace to families that have lost loved ones, sometimes closure, is absolute reward enough for what I do. Today, we are going to talk about what happens to our pets and animals once they transition, and also our energy, emotional and spiritual, and how important it is to recognize when we are using it to sabotage ourselves, sometimes on purpose and sometimes subconsciously. First of all, I'm going to start today's episode with a massive thank you to everyone for your patience, the kind words. Most of them have made me sob uncontrollably. For those of you that do not know, I lost my precious Buff just this week, yesterday actually. And to say it's hard is an understatement. Buff was only 5 years old. He had been actually sick for close to 2 years. His life had not been easy. We had him as a puppy. He had had TPLO surgery at 18 months. And then had about 2 years ago developed gastritis, we thought it was gastritis during the initial x-rays, etc., for his gastritis, when we didn't know what was causing it. They also found what they classed as a thymoma at the time, which is a tumor in his chest cavity. And that was, it was about 18 months, 2 years ago. We made the decision not to operate. Many dogs don't recover from that surgery. It is cracking their chest bone open. And we had him on a regime for a stomach ulcer, which they also discovered. He had about 6 or 8 months of not having to go to the vet. It was great. And in January, he got very, very sick again with what we thought was gastritis again. We were treating it that way. He had severe allergies, so his food was limited to just kangaroo and hypoallergenic treats, etc. And after a couple of months, the vet said, look, I think we need to do another gastroscopy. And to do that, I need you to take him off the medication he's on. When I had wound down the prednisolone, he was terribly, terribly sick. I got him to the vet in the morning for his gastroscopy. And if the vet had said he's too sick to do this or there was something else, I was purely expecting that. And when I went to pick him up, I thought the vet would say, yes, it's an ulcer. We're going to change the medication. However, they found a tumor which was wrapped around his pylori in his stomach. And he said, what do you want to do? having thought about it, not knowing that we didn't want to put him through another surgery. And we made a decision then to put him onto palliative care, which was upping steroids, upping pain meds, etc. Knowing that he was going to get sicker. Many dogs with stomach tumours only last about 3 months. And last week I had a long conversation. We had actually 2 consults. One, an internal medicine specialist called us from Melbourne, and he was beautiful. He was amazing. He spent an hour with us on the phone explaining our options, and that the surgery, 2 out of 100 dogs 2 out of 100 dogs survive post-surgery because of where it is. It's like a whipple on a human. And then the same day we went to see our usual vet, our GP vet, and had the same conversation. And he said some beautiful things to us. He said, look, any time from now is the right decision. Dogs don't fear dying, they fear pain, which I knew. And all the symptoms that we had been adapting our life to and adapting his life to sort of all hit home. And he said, look at photos and videos from 12 months ago, not last week. And we did that. We sat down and we just went, wow, his life is just tiny. He doesn't have the energy to walk. He doesn't have the energy to do anything. So we chose a date, and the whole of this week we have fed him anything and everything because he had such a restricted diet that we gave him the bacon and the burgers and all the things that he couldn't have. So he passed away at home. The vet came to our home. In true Buff style, though, I'm going to tell you this story. He had become incredibly greedy because he was on prednisolone. If anyone's ever been on prednisolone, the insatiable hunger that comes with that is quite unique. And for a dog that probably doesn't understand why he's got this gnawing hunger in his tummy, he was just sat outside the pantry all day. The reason he didn't lose weight is because we were double feeding him the whole time. He had these hard balls that I would fill with the special dry food that he could have without reaction. And he would spend hours just pushing the ball around the house on the floorboards and chomping up the dry food, and he loved it. So he was just always hungry right until the morning that he passed. I took him to our favourite park. We went drive-through because he loved to drive through and had his pup cup, and we sat and watched the ducks. And he shared, well, he had 95% of a toasted sandwich. And we came home and the vet came, and we'd already given him a slight sedation before the vet came. And the vet gave him a higher sedation, okay, which would, make them comfortable. And I was here, Andrew was here, the boys, my adult children came because he was such a special part of our family. And we're all sitting around and holding him and stroking him. And the vet turned his back and he dared to open the syringe that was needed. And it was a rustle of plastic. And as sedated as Buff was, he got up and he looked and sat at the vet's feet as if to say, "You've opened a packet. It must be a treat for me." So that sort of lightened the mood a little bit. And the vet actually gave him lots and lots of treats before he passed. But it's been a very sad week for me, and the guilt is real, which is why I decided to add into this episode. It wasn't my choice to do an episode on pet loss or what happens to our pets when they pass, but I thought it was an important one to do today, as well as the energy one. So we will talk about that. But the guilt is real. That, did I do it too soon? Was it too soon. And the vet said, do it whilst they're still having good days. Do it whilst they're still wagging their tail and they are still hungry, because in a week he is going to become worse and worse and worse. And the day before he passed, I did take him out for a little meander and he wasn't going to make it home. It was tough to get, and he was a heavy dog. I couldn't lift him. So I know we've done the right thing, sitting back and looking at how much he had changed within that 12 months. He had been on palliative care for a really long time and we hadn't realized it. And he was that empty nester dog. I had the time, the energy, the money. He was spoilt beyond belief. And he was incredibly, incredibly loved. So thank you to everyone for your kind words and your love. And I'm going to have to put a trigger warning on the start of this episode because I shouldn't have just launched into it without warning everyone. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode, what happens to our pets and our energy. First of all, I would like to ask you all a massive favour. Would you please follow the podcast and like the podcast for me? I know thousands of you listen to it every week, and it would mean so much to me for you to do that. I put a lot of time and energy into this. It is sponsored wholly by our Patreons. I don't take any ad money for anything on the podcast because I don't really want strange ads for erectile dysfunction and all sorts popping up during my podcast. So please, if you could, that would be wonderful. So what does happen to our pets and all other animals? It is one of the most asked questions that I get every single, almost weekly, if not more often. All animals have a soul. Every living being with a soul transitions to the afterlife. As with humans who transition, they are no longer in pain. They are no longer suffering. They are able to do all the things that they couldn't do whilst they were living. About 3 weeks ago, I had mentioned it to Laurie, and I just want to give Laurie a shout out because she's held my hand through much of this. About 3 weeks ago, I had a very, very vivid dream. Now, obviously, I am very connected to the afterlife, but for me, my loved ones don't come to me on a daily basis. I have to dream about them. They come to me in my dreams. For whatever reason that is, that has been how it has worked for me for decades. If I really, truly need a reading, I will go to a reputable medium. But as I've always said, for me, I have that proof. I know what the afterlife is. I don't necessarily need a mediumship reading because I know my loved ones are around me. They may not make themselves known to me all the time, but I know they're here and I talk to them. In fact, when I left the house today, which is, I haven't been able to leave the house a lot in the last 12 months because leaving Buff on his own was difficult, which is why he spent a couple of days a week with my ex-husband. And believe me, they had a beautiful relationship. I had to take something there today and I turned up and I went, this fence has just been finished, and that fence was built for Buff after he moved into his new home. Anyway, I digress. It was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had an incredibly vivid dream, and I knew it was a visitation from 2 of my 3 previous adult dogs. I have always had Bassets. If you don't know, before Buff, I had Basset hounds, and the only one that was missing was my first ever Basset hound, who also passed away at 5 years old from lymphoma, and he was called Dinsdale. And my other two, Odie and Winston, came to me in the dream, and they were saying, "We're looking for Dinsdale. We're looking for Dinsdale." And I took that to be they were coming to get Buff. They were going to be ready for Buff when he was going to transition. And many people will want to have me committed. But I always thought that Buff was a reincarnation of Dinsdale. Actually, I'd had it confirmed. Even though they were completely different breeds, they had the same face, the same look. And when Odie and Winston came to me in my dream and said they were looking for Dinsdale, they were looking for him, I knew that when Buff left us, that they would be there waiting for him. And although I don't do mediumship for animals, they come through in many, many readings with information about how they passed and with love for their owners, to let their owners know that they are still around. And it's so important for people to understand that as beings that have souls, they simply leave their fur body behind, their animal body behind, and transition as with humans. Now, many will have been humans in a previous life. Many will be humans in other lives. But when they leave this life, they transition as animals and they get to run free. Their animal friends that even if they didn't have animal friends that had passed before, even if they didn't get to meet your previous pets, they are going to be there to meet them. Their humans that they have loved before will be there to meet them. And they do cross to the Rainbow Bridge because they get to run in paddocks and they get to lie in the sun. And if they love to lie in a windowsill will be there for them. Our pets, the animals that surround us every day, have souls, just like you and I. So please know that if you have lost a pet before and you are grieving and you are sad, that they will be there with you. They will be there with your loved ones. I find it incredibly comforting. And I told the story of the dream to my two boys yesterday. Oh no, I did it this morning. And Oliver, my eldest, said, "That's just made me so happy. It's just made me so much happier than I was when I woke up and I realized that he wasn't in our lives anymore." I don't know if you guys, seriously, Buff was the most spoilt and loved dog. Like my kids will be driving home from work and say, "Can I pop in?" And they haven't come to see me. They've come to see Buff. They would show up for him, not me. I'm sure they love me too. But I also need to say that my boys made me so proud yesterday. Their love and care for me and their dad and Buff was so obvious. And it's times like that that you sit back and you realize that you have raised two amazing human beings. Before I move on to the rest of the podcast, I'm going to read you a poem that was given to me. And I think that it just sums everything up. By the edge of a wood, at the foot of a hill, in a lush green meadow, where time stands still, where the friends of man and woman do run, when their time on earth is done. For here, between this world and the next, is a place where beloved creatures find rest. On this golden land they wait and play, till the rainbow bridge they cross one day. No more do they suffer in pain or sadness, for here they are whole, their lives filled with gladness. Their limbs are restored, their health renewed. Their bodies have healed with health imbued. They romp through the grass without even a care, until the day they stop and stare. All ears prick forward, eyes sharp and alert. Then all of a sudden, one breaks from the pack, for just at that second, their eyes have met. As they see each other, both person and pet, they run to each other, these friends from long past. The time of their parting is over at last. The sadness they felt whilst they were both apart has turned to joy for both in each heart. They embrace with love that will last forever. Then side by side, they cross over together. From what I understand, that is the closest depiction of what I've been shown from pets. However, I do, from what I have been shown, know that there is a bridge that goes between. And pets can go and spend time with the humans, and the humans can spend time with the pets. I know where I'd be, to be fair. But your pets will visit you, just as your past loved ones will visit you. That little dent when you curl up at night and you can feel the weight shift in your bed. That's your animal. They still curl up. When I went out today, I said goodbye to Buff. I told him I wouldn't be long and that I'd be back soon. That was a bit of a lie because I was out longer than I have been for a long, long time. But I know he's here with me, and I know he's no longer in pain. And I hope that you all take comfort from knowing that about your loved animals too. So before I go on to energy, which is a really important topic, I'm going to give a shout out to all my Patreon members. Please remember that this is sponsored by Patreons. It is such a wonderful community we have built. If you don't know, I've also started a new tier, which includes assistance with metaphysical practices. It is not to develop your mediumship or your intuition, but we will have circles going. It is more to have a peer support group to support each other, because sometimes we really need that support. It's not, it is hard doing what we do. And sometimes having that support is genuinely really important. So, but what I'm going to do first of all is give a shout out to all the wonderful new Patreon members. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying the chats. I will be on live Sunday, my time. It was going to be Saturday, but I'm actually going to take myself to Melbourne for a couple of days. I've got a long planned engagement tomorrow night. I've decided to stay down there and do a bit of mooching around and shopping on the Saturday because I'm not having to rush back. But I was going to be here for the live, but I think I'm just going to take some time out for myself, and the live will be my Sunday, which is, if you're in the US and Europe, it is your Saturday afternoon, evening. And I also need to remember that our clocks go back an hour. So I'm going to miss an hour's sleep, but that's okay. All right, our new members for the last 2 weeks. Remember, I didn't do a podcast last week. Raquel J, Peggy Toner, Sue, Naja, Sarah, another Sarah, Linda, Jen, Amanda, Chastity Daggett, you have joined for 12 months. Thank you so much. Kathy, Patty, Wanda, Ari, Lorena Marie, thank you for joining for 12 months. Lainey, Tracy, St. Croix. I got that right, Tracy. I was about to call you St. Croix, but it is Tracy St. Croix. If you don't know Tracy, she is a phenomenal medium who also runs intuitive classes, etc. Ryan, Gabby, KP, Pam, Erin, April, Joyce, another Erin, Kirsty, who has joined the Broomstick Besties, Sarah, Jess, Rory, Brittany, Amy, Jill, Nikki, Winter, Elizabeth, Kaylee Pettis, Bark, Dina, Lawmum, Lisa, Diana, Eli, I think it's Eli. It could be Ellie. It is spelt the same. Apologies if I am wrong. Yaya 2679, Tara, Wendy Graham, Chiggy, Crystal, Jenny, Amanda, Ashley, Megan, Joy, Laurie, a whole lot of Nen. Amy, Carmen, G. Harris, Kim, Kelly, Ebony, Candace, Trisha, and Donna. Thank you, guys. You guys rock. I appreciate you more than I can tell you. For those of you that do not know about Patreon, pop along to the show notes. All the information is there. It really is a beautiful community. You do get a lot of extra content. I have just put out March's newsletter, which got released in April, and I sent it to the graphic designer saying it was February. I don't know what day of the week it is most times. So the newsletter has gone out. There's lots of extra videos in each different level. And the Metaphysical Mavens have our first group. I think it's next weekend. And I am really, really looking forward to that. And that's going to give us a really good idea of where we're going to take it, because it is a peer support group where you guys are going to set the pace of what you want to know. Okay, so let's talk about energy. Gee, I know there is a lot of astrological energy going on at the moment. It is, I don't know, we're in some place that 30-something years ago is very similar astrologically. I know that Laurie will probably have me taken out and whipped for saying that, but, you know, I don't do astrology. I listen and I do not judge, but I also don't take in any information. What I want to say is that there's too many people out there using energy to get angry, to waste their limited special energy, whether it is spiritual or energetic energy. If you are spending a lot of time worrying about things that you have no control over, that you are worrying about what other people are thinking, saying, doing, how they're treating you, if you are worried about things that the outcome is not going to affect you, then you are going to be exhausted. I speak to people on a regular basis, and sometimes the first thing they say is, I am exhausted. Or, in fact, their spirit guides are going to say, you're exhausted. What is going on? I also see a lot of comments on my social media. I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. Remove your energy now. If you think about it, you get up every day and you have a full circle of energy and split it into 4 quarters. Now that is I'm not talking about physical energy. I'm talking about emotional and spiritual energy. Those 4 quarters have to serve you on every interaction you have, every telephone call, your work, the people you work with, your travel, your transport, your decision making is all in that one circle. And if you have a conversation with somebody, or you see something on social media, or you are still going over an argument you had with someone a week past Saturday about something that they did or said, or you are worried that somebody has treated you poorly and you're playing and sitting in the victim mode, that full circle is going to become depleted before it's 10 a.m. in the morning. We must learn to self-regulate. If we can teach and we expect toddlers and young people to self-regulate, then we should be doing it ourselves. I cannot tell you how much growth I personally went through. And I mean blossoming growth. I mean everything working out for me. I mean meeting the people I'm supposed to meet, setting up businesses, having energy. How much when I cut out certain people in my life. I was always worried about how they were treating me. I was disappointed in the lack of respect. It's on them. It's not on me. I was sad about behaviors from 10, 20 years ago. The moment I made that decision and I cut ties with those people, and when I am the only person that can take care of me and make sure that I am okay. Obviously, I have friends and relatives, etc. But on a day-to-day basis, I have nobody to rely on. I am self-made. And do you think I would have gotten here if I had not cut ties with certain people that were draining me? And they didn't know they were draining me. They weren't doing it on purpose. They were doing it because they were cunts. And people don't know that they're cunts. So we have to cut them loose, and we have to cut winning in our head. We have to cut out being right, because being there for ourselves is so much more important than having somebody that really doesn't care see us, because it clears the way for those that deserve our energy to see us. Those that deserve who we are to come into our lives. As above, so below. So below, as above. If you are constantly worrying, thinking, overthinking, going over old conversations, wanting to be right, wanting to be heard by the wrong people, it's going out to the universe. And what does the universe do? It mirrors it back to us. The moment we put ourselves first, and I'm not talking about in a narcissistic, egotistical way, I am talking about in a way that we cannot serve ourselves or others if we are constantly worried what other people are thinking about us. Because what other people think about us when they are ourselves is none of our damn business. And you know what the great thing is? When we can't seem to please anyone, we get to do whatever the fuck we want. Within reason. No murders, no poisonings. We just get to control where our energy goes. And I've taught it and I've taught it and I've taught it. But I still have people phoning me up and saying, oh, but the guy I really, really loved, he hasn't spent 2 seconds thinking about me and he's going off with someone else. But I'm really, really sad. And I want him to see me and I want him to respect me. I'm so sorry. But if he didn't respect you when you were together, he's not going to respect you now. And I can't tell you how many times I get those phone calls. I have been drama-free in my life for a really, really long time, and I love it. I will, of course, give empathy and kindness and thought to everyone I speak to, even my friends. But the reality is that when we cut those energetical ties, and it's not about cord cutting, don't let any fucking wanker, fake psychic tell you that cord cutting is real. You just need to cut the energetical ties yourself, because you are giving energy to something that isn't serving you. So I want you all to really think about where your energy is going, how you would like to feel in, say, 30 days. Are you tired? Are you feeling that your energy is taken from people that don't deserve it? Are you overthinking conversations you've had because you'd like to prove yourself right? Are you wanting to argue with the odd MAGA person? None of them deserve your energy. You deserve your energy. Think about where it's going for the next 30 days. Think about how you've wasted it for the last 30 days. And watch both your physical and your emotional energy grow, because you deserve the best. You deserve people that love you, that show up for you, that respect you. You deserve to be more than an afterthought. And you deserve to have energy at the end of the day left for you. Because there are such things as energy vampires. They are real. All right. That's my preaching moment for today. I am so sorry. I did probably sounded like somebody in a pulpit today, didn't I? I love you all. I'm going to give you some predictions now from what I see coming in the coming months. I told you April was going to be rough. And it is rough. I'm going to cover the United States first, okay? I know I have an international audience, but guys, the United States is a shit show. Watch as Trump's health gets worse. He is going to have an event. It's not going to be a massive medical event, but there will be slurred words or freezing during speech, and it's going to be pronounced. It's not just going to be like, oh, he froze for 3 seconds and whatever. It's going to be pronounced, and they're going to try and cover it up. I do see him having a significant medical event in the next couple of months. It does feel heart related, but it could be heart, head. His kidneys are under real strain at the moment, and I do believe that they are keeping him going with I don't know what drugs. This is the thing. They're keeping them alive. Why? These people are suffering. Can we talk about no extreme measures? Look, I'm not talking about treating for illnesses, okay? Everyone deserves that. But when they're pumping them full of stuff to send them out into the world to make speeches, etc., and it's elder abuse. I don't like Trump, okay? I don't like him, but nobody deserves to be made a fool of. And believe me, he is making a fool of himself. So I see a medical event. I'm going to say by the end of May. I think it'll be sooner than that. I do see him backing down from a lot of his threats. This could be tariffs where he's saying, I will. And then he has his tail between his legs. I have said that on numerous occasions on Patreon. I do want to talk about, I do feel like there's an earthquake in, I'm going to say Wyoming area-ish. I'm not very good at direction, but I feel like it could be, it's not a big one. It's enough to rattle some people in that area. I'm sure that I've told Laurie that. If I haven't, I'll tell her in the morning. And I also want to say that you're going to watch the Republican Party turn on a lot of Trump's executive orders, things that are going up in the Senate, whatever. And I do think that there is going to be a push-shove case in, is it Senate, Congress, wherever they gather, there's going to be a push-shove thing going on between people. It won't be vocal. It may come after a vocal gymnastic type of thing. Be aware of that. US, again, floods. I am concerned. Middle and New York feel like there's a lot of flooding. I have put this in my newsletter for Patreon, but because I feel like it's quite serious, I'm putting it here as well. I feel like there will be an early hurricane in the Gulf. Whatever Gulf you want to call it, there is an early hurricane in that region. The rest of the world, Australia is going to slowly come undone. We are going to see that Albanese does not have the votes. I have said that I do believe Dutton will have to form a coalition. The thing about Australia is that we have mandatory voting, and a lot of people are not educated in voting, or they don't educate themselves in legislation, and they're going to tick a box. I'm pissed off with Albanese, so I want Dutton. They don't realise the damage that Dutton is going to do. Be aware, I fucking hate him. He looks like a thumb. And he's annoying and he's righteous. And I do not like that party at all. I have never, ever liked a prime minister that's come from that party. So be careful, guys. I really want people to push for, even though Albanese is a tool, he will be replaced if he wins, but I don't think he's going to, because I think that he's a bit like a wet wipe. And then he fell off the stage today. What a tosser. So that's happening in Australia. We are looking at significant weather. I don't think it's right now. Like Easter weekend feels like floods, more Victoria. And I feel like Perth may even be looking at some lake fires. So if you're in the Perth area, be very, very careful. A lot of stuff coming down. I do think there's going to be a big scandal involving Albanese or on his team that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. Just get out and vote. And I'm not an Australian citizen. I'm not allowed to vote. I will be allowed to vote next time, but just not this. And I know I've been here 30 years and I should have done it. It just kept being put on the back burner because I was traveling so much. And then I just forgot. UK is going to see a lot of arrests for historic events. It feels like it's going to be shocking, and they're going to arrest people for old murders, old essays. I can say the actual word. This is my podcast, but I'm not going to. That feels like it's historic and it's people of note. Russell Brand is about to have another big scandal and it may well cancel him. And the cancellation of a sporting event because of terrorism threats. I also want to point out terrorism worldwide, even here in Australia, is likely to kick up by the end of April. I am very worried about the US being attacked by Iran, and I have said that I thought that that was going to happen last year. I said this year is likely to be an issue with Iran, and Trump seems to be wanting to play tag with them. Europe, I'm going to say there's a lot of shock politics going on in Europe. I'm not going to, it's almost like people switching teams. And I just feel like Italy, I keep being drawn to problems in Italy. And I expect an earthquake and volcanic action in Italy sometime between now and the end of May. All right, guys. I know it's not good news. I know that this podcast may make you a little bit sad, but I want you to know that you are all loved and cared for and that you all deserve all the good stuff. Start being kinder to yourselves, because when we wait for other people to be kind to us, we hand our power over to them to keep us happy. And we should never, ever do that. Lots of love. I shall see you next week. Take care.